Hello everyone, my name is Leilani and we are going to talk about hyperfocus and ADHD. Specifically hyperfocus. We're going to focus on the hyperfocus. Now, you don't have to have ADHD to have hyperfocus, but hyperfocus can be something that's really good. It can also be something that's not so good. So, we're going to first define hyperfocus. We're going to talk about what causes hyperfocus. We're going to talk about nutrition, how nutrition plays a role in it, what it looks like, what it feels like when you're in that hyperfocus mode. And of course, at the very end, I'm going to give you guys some tips if you have a child that is hyperfocusing, or if you're hyperfocusing and it's becoming a problem and it's affecting your everyday life, so to speak. I'm going to give you some ideas to help, snap yourself out of that and snap your kids out of that and just help, support, those kind of things. Okay, so my name's Leilani. This is my channel, Living with Eve. Please, I would love for you guys to subscribe and follow me on this journey. I am a homeschool mom to 4 beautiful kids. I am a former public and private school teacher, and I love to help families that have children with disabilities, special needs, because I have a child with Down syndrome, and I also have ADHD in the family, including myself. But we don't really talk about that too much. I mean, I bring it up every once in a while, but Okay, I need to move on because important part is the hyperfocusing, because that's why you guys clicked in the first place. So what is hyperfocusing? All right, so that is when someone is so deeply obsessed and entrenched in a topic that pretty much everything around them just fades away. It could be a task, or usually it's a topic, but it's a task and a project. And so some of the things that you may see when a child or adult is hyper focusing, they will literally seclude themselves and zone into whatever they're doing. They'll skip meals. They will lose sleep. They will, adults, kids may not mow the lawn either, or do chores, or forget to pay your bills. That's an adult thing. Forget to fix things that are broken. Okay, for example, maybe the dryer is broken. So instead of getting that fixed or buying a new dryer, they may choose to just, not take a bath, not get changed, because hyperfocusing can last over a period of time, or it can be very short-lived, but everything seems to fall by the wayside except for that one specific project or task. And as you can see, if you don't pay your bills or take a shower or eat, that can kind of be a problem. Yeah. So some of the things that someone may hyperfocus on, it can be really anything. So it could be a building project. Maybe a kid might be really into a Lego set, a really big Lego project, or a big art and crafts project. It may be something that they're writing, a book that they're writing, a project that's due for school. And all these things actually sound pretty positive, right? Except when those things, like you skip a meal, skip bathing time, skip sleep, that's your negative right there. And also, when you try to break a child or an adult away from their hyperfocus mode, they can get very angry and lose their temper and forget how to treat other people properly. So I am going to slightly discuss television and video games and social media, and people say, yeah, that is kind of a form of hyperfocus, and it is, but there's a lot of other stuff involved with it, including dopamine. But so keep in mind that can be a form of hyperfocus, and it can be a problem, because when you start hyperfocusing on, which is really easy to do, you don't have to have ADHD to hyperfocus on a TV show or a movie, right? It doesn't take much, and that's because the dopamine hits. Okay, but why? Why is hyperfocusing happening? And why do kids with ADHD tend to be more hyperfocused than other kids? Okay, it all happens with the prefrontal cortex, which is the area in the brain that helps you with focusing. Now, ADHD kids are known to just be all over the place. Like they can't focus. But also at the same time, if they get zoned in, they can focus. So there's a problem with focusing. Either you focus too much or you don't focus at all. The prefrontal cortex. And it's not a joke, but I say this very seriously. Middle school kids, their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. And so a lot of them will zone in on that hyper focus mode. They won't even have ADHD. They'll just do it because they're in middle school and their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. So there's that. Also, another cause of hyperfocus is low dopamine. So dopamine is actually a neurotransmitter that helps connect communication between the cells, which means if there's low dopamine and there's struggle between communication between the cells, that means if a child or adult needs to switch from one activity to another, it might be really, really super duper hard. And that is actually what happens. So one of the ways someone could actually increase some of that dopamine naturally is by certain nutritional type foods. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I just am aware that if I feed my child cod liver oil, they tend to focus a little better, and I do notice a difference. I also notice if I keep up with their probiotics, they tend to focus a little, and me too, right? When I keep up with my probiotics, I focus a little bit better. When I keep up with my saturated fats, I focus a little better. I've seen my kids focus a little better. In fact, if I don't have enough saturated fats, I start to get the shakes and I can't focus. And protein, exercise, sleep increases dopamine. That's why if we don't have enough sleep, we can't even function. Music can help bring up our dopamine. That makes sense, right? And the sun, vitamin D, sunlight. There's others. I know I didn't hit upon all of it, and feel free to leave some of those other suggestions down in the comments down below. So let's kind of get back to what actually happens when someone is hyperfocusing. If you are a parent that has a child that has those hyperfocus moments and they're not getting stuff done because they get so hyperfocused on a specific school project, which does happen, especially in homeschool when you don't have those schedules and those bells. For example, one of my kids, they have gotten hyper-focused on certain projects or papers that they're writing that they will spend 6-7 hours skipping meals but working on that one project just to get it done because they're hyper-focused on it. And then they get grumpy and they yell at me when I say, hey, you need to take a break. And they're grumpy because they didn't eat and they're not sleeping, okay? But what does it feel like, right? From our perspective when we're hyper-focused. Literally nothing in the world matters. Nobody matters except that one thing that you're thinking about. Voices, background noises, they just completely disappear. And time just goes by. You forget what time it is. And the next thing you know, you look at the clock and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're mad at yourself for staying up so late. And then you're you just get angry. That's at least my experience is when I miss my deadlines and waste too much time hyper-focusing, I get angry. So how can we help ourselves and help our kids when it comes to hyper-focusing? First of all, we want to know what the triggers are, what topics or what things tend to hyper-focus us. Some get hyper-focused on writing. Whenever they have to write an essay, they get so engrossed in that essay, everything stops. Or maybe it's a building project of some kind. Knowing what is triggering that or what's causing the hyper-focus typically is good to know. And here's another trick. Don't let them start any of those projects right before bed. And you yourself, don't start any of those projects right before bed because you won't sleep. Another thing you could do is have a clear schedule. Especially as homeschool moms with homeschool kids, is we always don't have a schedule. And so you'll get into that situation where your kid hyper-focuses for 7 hours on a project. When you say you have to stop and they blow a temper tantrum and then you're and it's, you don't know where to go from there. So if you have a clear schedule, sometimes you're hey, it's been an hour, you need to stop, it's on the schedule, we've got to move on to this. That can kind of make the transition a little bit easier for the child. And for yourself. Setting alarms will help you. Setting the clock will help you. And, sometimes you can say, all right, just give me 15 minutes. You have to make that a hard 15 minutes. Because if not, it's going to be can I have 15 more minutes? Can I have 15 more minutes? And it just keeps going. So things have to, if you give them that extra 15 minutes to help them kind of mentally transition out, make sure it's a hard 15 minutes. have them create a checklist. And this is just a typical ADHD trick anyway, in general, is creating that checklist, because when you accomplish certain goals, and if you have ADHD, checking off those goals make you feel like you've accomplished something. Now, someone who's used to hyper-focusing, if they see those goals and they see that they haven't met those goals, that'll help transition them out of that hyper-focus mode. Also, when you do accomplish those goals, it's good to take a break and do a little celebration dance or whatever, you know. Get moving. Moving is another one, right? Get moving, do a little dance, go outside, get in the sun, jump on the trampoline, get a nice drink of lemonade if it's winter time currently, but you may be watching this during summer. Doesn't matter, just go outside. Yes, even if it's snowing, go outside. It's something about that transition, okay, will help get you out of that hyper-focusedness. Limit the amount of time that you spend on social media, because it's so easy to lose control. Video games, TV, limit the time, and make sure your kids know in advance that they have a limited amount of time, so then they're prepared to move on, and you have to make it hard. You can't forget, right, to shut off the internet when it's time to get off the computers. You need to make sure if you say an hour, it's an hour. You can't do an hour and a half-ish, because otherwise it's going to make things very difficult. They're not going to want to transition out, because they don't expect you to stick to that hour if you don't always do it. So those are my tips. I think I pretty much covered everything about hyper-focusing. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any other suggestions or tips or any experiences that you go through with hyper-focusing, or if you even knew what hyper-focusing was, because a lot of people don't even realize that hyper-focusing is a thing with ADHD. So leave those in the comments down below, and give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and if you are here, thank you guys so much for being here and watching this channel and subscribing. I thank you. If you want to learn more about ADHD, I'm going to go ahead and stick a video right up here so you can learn more about it. Or if you have a middle schooler, I'm going to stick my middle school video right there too. It's really informative about middle school and the middle school brain and like all the things, right? So good video. Check them out if you're interested, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.